Oh my god! They've killed Kenny!
You bastards!
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new review on the channel. And today we are talking about one of my favorite horror films, one of my favorite Evil Dead movies, one of my favorite Sam Raimi movies, Evil Dead 2. You guys know. I'm sorry it took so long to get this video out. As I've mentioned before in previous videos, I'm a full-time college student and I'm right in the middle of finals and trying to finish out the year strong, so I have just had so much work to be on top of, and trying to close everything out on a good note. I decided to take about a week off of YouTube, but I'm back. I am feeling much better. I'm feeling good and ready to continue this review series before Evil Dead Rise. So, with that being said, let's talk about Evil Dead 2. Now, the first thing that I will say about this movie is I did not really know what to expect from this whole franchise because I started with Army of Darkness and worked my way backwards. So, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, and then the original Evil Dead. And since I watched it in that order, I have always confused this with the original. Like, they kind of bleed together and blend in a way that I can never exactly remember what happens in one or the other, if that makes any sense. So, watching this again, I have them down this time. I have always loved all of these films, but now I think I fully have them down. Getting into what everybody knows about this film, this is a very, very different take on the Evil Dead. It is not so much a straight up horror movie. It is much more campy. It is much more goofy. It has a lot more slapstick comedy thrown in there, and if you are down for that, it really, really hits in this movie, and I am down. While the first movie really showed the potential that Sam Raimi had as a director and what he could do with a very small budget, I think he kind of perfects it in Evil Dead 2, because you can tell the budget is bigger, you can tell the effects are bigger, you can tell they have more room to do more stunts, more crazy camera work, more blood, more gore, just more everything. Evil Dead 2 is everything in excess, and that is one of the pieces that makes the slapstick in this movie work. Kind of a draw to all the Evil Dead movies is how gory and just carnage and blood filled all of these movies are. And okay, it's kind of like what Tobe Hooper said he was trying to do with the first Texas Chainsaw, in that Sam Raimi was saying he was going for a more comedic tone in the first film, which does come across maybe a little bit. They fully went comedy with Evil Dead 2. It is the tonal shift between Texas Chainsaw 1 and Texas Chainsaw 2. Some of the effects in this film are just awesome to look at. Like, the biggest one that always stands out to me every time I watch this is the trees hitting the cabin when they are trying to, you know, undo the spell, say the words, and make the evil, you know, retreat or whatever. When the trees hit the cabin, I always love that effect. The practical effects in this movie are just awesome all around the board as well. I mean, you have the look of Henrietta that is just fucking wild in its own right. You have a lot of cool kills. You have the fucking blood tornado come out of the cellar in I don't know, I can never remember the actual character's name, but I always just call him Cletus because he reminds me of the dude from The Simpsons. So we're gonna call him Cletus. When he gets his like skin ripped off from Henrietta in the cellar, that is a wild visual. You have Ash's hand, you have evil Ash introduced for the first time when Bruce Campbell is staring in the mirror and then he comes out and grabs him. Awesome stuff. This is what I'm talking about when Sam Raimi is kind of just let off the leash to do whatever he wants, but in this film he had the tools to really bring up the production value and what he can do with these effects. I also love Ash as a character much more in this film. In the first Evil Dead, I do not think Ash was like fully realized as a character. I've used the comparison before, but see Chucky in Child's Play 1 versus Child's Play 2. Ash is fully, or at least mostly, realized in this film, where he becomes Ash. This is the birth of the Ash that we know and love, and this sets up our expectations for whenever we think of what the character of Ash is and what he can do, who he is. He's a much more focused character this time around, and is just turned into a full-on badass by the end of this film. And obviously that comes along with the iconic look of the chainsaw arm and the boomstick, the double barrel. Awesome stuff. And so much of the credit for the success of this film should go to Bruce Campbell's acting ability, because when you watch this guy on screen in this movie, this dude is giving it everything he's fucking got. Like, he goes all out for this role, and it really comes across on screen. I mean, the scene where he's in the kitchen fucking beating himself up, I know they definitely go in post, add some effects to it to make it look a little bit more believable, but even with that being said, you can tell how much effort he's putting in to make this look real. Even when his hand turns evil and he's crawling to get to the knife and then he stabs himself, like, this guy is going all out, and I love it every single time I watch it. I totally respect all of it. I also like some of the new characters that are brought in here. I mean, Annie, Nobi, like I said, fucking Cletus and Baba Joe, and the guy that is with Annie. I for the most part, enjoy their presence on screen. I mean, they're not much more standout than the group of characters that we had in the first film, but I like some of the stuff that they get into with each other, you know, some of the situations that they're put in. Also, again, as I said, Evil Ash is introduced. Ash turns into a Deadite in this film, and I love the makeup on Bruce Campbell in those sequences. I mean, he looks menacing, he looks creepy, and I really enjoy it. Now, I think this film is a really good balance of horror and comedy, because admittedly, a lot of the other times that I have watched this film, I really lean more into the comedy side, but for whatever reason on this rewatch, I got a lot more of the unsettling vibes that I hadn't got before. I mean, I might go as far as to say that a lot of the campy stuff that they put in particular the scene where the deer head starts laughing and the lamp and everything starts laughing, and Ash is bouncing up and down, and he's kind of going between laughing his ass off and screaming. That's kind of just maddening when I really think about it. And some of the shots that Sam Raimi puts in, again, his style of shots, you have the overhead Dutch tilts and the weird side profile close-ups. When all of that is combined together, it sounds like such a weird idea on paper, but when you see it translate on screen, it's genuinely unsettling. You can't really tell if you should be laughing or freaking out internally. Maybe both. So that is what I mean when I say I think this has a really good balance between horror and comedy, and I really respected that even more on this most recent rewatch. So now, getting into the one part of this film that always puzzled me a little bit, even when I was a little kid watching this, is when I really picked up on it. The whole beginning of this film is essentially a very rushed and quick retelling of parts of the events of the first film. Evil Dead 2 is not really a sequel. It is more of a soft reboot or retelling, if I guess you could say. And I don't mind it at all. Like, I can overlook it for the rest of the film, which I really enjoy, obviously, but that first 10 to 15 minutes always just feels like it goes by like that. there's no real build-up or tension to the evil rising again. I mean, you have, in the first film, all of these characters finding the tape recorder. This time around, it's just Ash and Linda, and the evil is here within the first couple minutes of the film without any real tension or build-up. Like I said, I can overlook it, but it just feels a bit weird to me when I rewatch this film sometimes, but I understand what they were going for. I'm sure somebody out there has done this, but you could really cut the first film and this film together if you do it at the right places. So at the end of the first film, you see the evil Cam rushing into Ash's face, and then the movie cuts right there. In Evil Dead 2, there is a scene where that happens again, but it is picked up and he is thrown backwards and hits a tree and then turns into a deadite for the first time. This is in Evil Dead 2. And I think it would be pretty cool. Like I said, I'm sure somebody has done it. If somebody was able to go in there and cut those two together so you could watch this as like one big 2.5 hour long Evil Dead movie. And just get rid of that first 10 minutes of Evil Dead, and then you would have a very coherent story, which you do already, but just getting rid of that 10 minutes makes it a little bit better in my opinion. I will say, if you have watched Ash vs. Evil Dead, which I will not be covering, but my thoughts, I think it's a perfect show, 10 out of 10. Not going to get into it right now, but the backstory that Ash gives in Ash vs. Evil Dead, the TV show, takes bits and pieces of both Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. So there's no sort of like real coherence and continuity kept, but again, I don't care. I love the Evil Dead as a franchise, and I think it is possibly the most consistent horror franchise out there. So there you go. Alright guys, that is my review on Evil Dead 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of Evil Dead 2 down in the comments below. And stay tuned, we are going to be talking about Army of Darkness, Evil Dead Remake, leading up to Evil Dead Rise in 2 days, and I am so excited to see it, alright? If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, please subscribe, and stay tuned for all the awesome content I have coming up. It really helps to know that I have that support, and keeps me motivated to keep making this content, which I absolutely love doing. So, again, if you guys enjoyed it, please take a minute, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. But until then, I will see you guys in the next video.